This is not the private life of Javier Krahe. We've got Javier Krahe himself with us, the director Ana Murugarren and Joaquín Trincado, Antón Reixa, president of the SGAE, and Antonio Onetti, president of the Authors Foundation. So therefore they are awaiting your questions. Photographers, please, can you stop taking your photos with flash? That's it, thank you. Okay, who wants to ask any questions? I would like to ask, first of all, whether you could explain why this film, I understand it's shot in 2004, and it figures as 2006 is when it was edited, and why you've decided to present it in San Sebastian now. Why has that been taken so long? And second question for Javier Krahe. We've seen with the latest event that the crucifix and everything has taken life again, and that it's true that some people don't contemplate you very well. But the film is that you're a person who is loved by the audience and loved by the people, and singer-songwriters who do the same thing you do. How do you manage to hold that? That is to say, the heads and the tails of the coin. Allow me to answer. Allow Joaquín to talk first, but allow me. Joaquín and Murugarren and Ana Murugarren, they are the co-directors. The issue is the freedom of expression. SGAE was the Authors Foundation. We wanted to recover our relations with the San Sebastian Film Festival, and there are two good axes that have to do with this collaboration. One is the audience's award, which makes sense to the work of the authors, and then secondly the freedom of expression, which is the raw material of the authors. So therefore, within the sponsorship that we've carried out in the audience's award, which will be presented on Friday, along with the festival's management, we wanted the pearl of freedom of expression, and this responds to the events that have surrounded the figure of Javier Krahe in the last few months, with images that are being contained in this film. And for us, the truth is, freedom of expression is the culture broth for creation. SGAE and the Authors Foundation, we will recover more and more our alignment with freedom of expression and the protagonism of the different authors. For Javier, for us, is an example of an author. He is an example of an artistic trajectory that makes sense and gives meaning to copyright, and in favor of the audience, makes the authors independent. Javier Krahe, he is one. He's an example for all of the authors within Spain. His honesty, his independence, and we believed that this film, in which the foundation has participated, the Authors Foundation, and activities of this nature will be recovered by the SGAE through the refounded Authors Foundation, and that's what it's here for, to create alternative spaces and products that can't enter into the commercial circuits, but they give value to the most important thing in our creation, and the work of Javier Krahe deserves it. And obviously, when we were able to talk with Joaquín and Murugarren participating in the festival, well, we decided to be here. I don't know whether Joaquín wants to add something else. Apart from this, I think that there also exists by the festival the management and the interest and the reality of the film, and apart from it being an example upon the freedom of expression, the truth is it's a film that, apart from the persecution that Javier Krahe has suffered in person due to this, obviously they're probably, if someone's interested in his head and not the directors, we're responsible for this film, and at the end of the day, because of the contact matter we shown this, that's why this film, and vis-a-vis it becoming commercialized, it being a damned film, no one dared to show it or project it, because apart from there being an accusation against Javier Krahe, there's also another one against a TV channel. So therefore, whoever the person who's led this dark process has managed the film to not come in, to not be able to be shown, to say, how am I going to program this on my, wherever it had to be programmed. I can tell you an anecdote. Obviously, this was premiered, this is a copy that's premiered in 2006. At that time, a company that distributed some of our films internationally, like Todo por la Pasta, or Everything for the Money, it had a relationship with a very important public chain that has international, or channel that had international connections. It didn't affect the other sales of TV sales at a national level, whether we could sell it and export it. Well, when the person, and I'm not going to say the name because I don't think that person now holds that position, when he saw the film, this person called me up when it came to the sequence where we recovered that fragment of the short 10 commentaries or remarks, which is a Super 8, in which we extracted only 2, which is with the on eating Christ. I think, I'm not too sure who you see there, Javier, I forget, and then Joaquín says, I can't buy this for South America because they're very, and I very daringly said, well, I said, well, at a given moment, I'm not going to get worried if we take away that sequence for a certain market. Versions B and C versions have been made for depending upon what markets. Well, let's see it. Let me just see it, and after 4 hours after seeing the film, and he's come to another part in the film, in which is the Joaquín Sabina's concert, in which there's a part with Javier Krahe when they sing a song called against NATO, a song against NATO, and unfortunately for Javier, there was, the politicians are excessively zealous, and they believe that they are the owners of the whole garden, so to speak, of everything, and they say, well, okay, well, this is even worse, because that is to say, if I buy this and I screen it, I'll lose my position. I won't last 2 days in my position. Well, apart from the fact that this San Sebastian Film Festival and the SGAE and the Authors Foundation, as co-producers, they thought it was quite suitable, and I understand it as such, and also the people in the festival here in San Sebastian, I know and believe, and I know they think it's suitable because of the quality of the film. Well, the truth is, we'd never had such unanimous criticism, and I would say, and I would like to highlight, that despite what it seems, at that time, there was unanimous critique. It included the La Razón newspaper or the Focento newspaper group, which gave it the Creativity in Cinema Award. They're not suspect, they're not any of these two media to be excessively tending to freedom of thought, but they are quite moderate, so we say, in their approach. Bocentro handed over an award to this film in 2007 in the Guggenheim Museum, which gave an award at the same time as Good Either for Camera Café. And when the private life, this is not the private life of Javier Krahe and Loco de la Colina, because of his TV, Spanish TV at that time. So that because of his program. And somebody, we don't know who it is, has managed to set up a smoke screen, and a film like this, which is a magnificent film festival here in San Sebastian, it's a great forum to claim that we can be, let's be a bit more modern in this country, and let's not everything, like Javier says in one of his songs, which appears in the film, in the Mandragora, we said, you come to the typical Spain and you get Spaniardized. So that's how we've been enormously hit by everyone, and we can't have a right that the film can logically be circulated, because the quality is, it's a film in the line of Jim Jarmusch, that is to say, the film he did with Neil Young, very free, I should say, But just like Javier, it seems to me that it makes all the sense in the world. Yes, the second question, I think you answered it yourself. That is, I don't remember the question very well. No. With the problem that there's been, that obviously there are people that don't agree with Javier Krahe, but it surprises us that there are. But you're very loved. You've got a very faithful audience that turns up to those small concerts that you play every year. And then there are also a lot of people, singers and authors, singers and songwriters in your profession who talk marvelously about you. It talks about a genius, apart from the fact, well, these people, when they appear in this film, it's surprising for me because the film I only knew about the part where I appeared, and the rest was their work. And the Christ scenes there's their work because I did that 35 years ago in Super 8, and no one had seen it before, and I didn't even have it myself. And it appears in the film. It also appears what he said about the Cuerpo Ingenuo when I sang it for the first time. I was surprised, one surprise after another when I watched the film, and all of a sudden I see that something that I did 35 years ago acquires a repercussion in the media. Well, it seems that's a mistake. It's a work of fiction. If I bring out someone shooting somebody to death, it doesn't occur to anyone that there's been a murder there. Well, that's how it appears. You see some hands and a voice over, women's hands, and also a woman's voiceover, and she cooks the crucifix. And I don't know why I can't show that, the truth be said. In fact, what happens is I didn't expect it to see that. I didn't even know where that document was. It had a friend of mine and they were able to locate him and show it. I think it's all a big mistake. I'm not sought after this controversy, but I'm not worried about countering this controversy. If I did it 35 years ago, I also did other things, and they've always had a repercussion in my life, but I didn't expect them to have that repercussion, and I don't know why either. They bring up this scandal on the internet, especially above all, putting an account number to send donations, and I think that's where the reason lies. That's probably why. I've not received any donations, by the way. My accusers have, nevertheless. The people that have accused me have.
Hola.
Hi, good morning. First of all, I want to thank Javier Krahe because thanks to his music and thanks to his lyrics and so on, I've been able to know who you are and yours Brashans, for example. So it's something that it's inspired me enormously to do engineering at the end of the day. But it also helped me to come here to love music and cinema. I don't know, an approximation, so we say, to a different world, a world that I've not seen in other places, in other singers and songwriters. And I would also like to say that, to give a positive note, we knew that everyone was going to ask about the crucifix, and my colleague said, why did you ask the question? I said, no, I want to ask you that I laughed very much at the film. I enjoyed it myself, and I liked it as if I was a child. I liked it enormously because I knew who you were, and I knew that people talked about you, and all of a sudden seeing people say, well, yeah, Krahe, yeah, I like him very much, and I think it's like the Gran Wyoming saying that the best record that's ever been made in Spain is one of your records. He's a bit exaggerated, don't you think? But it's very good. I like it very much, okay? And I was thinking what to ask, but I didn't know what, so I said, well, I'm just going to say the positive side of things. Say something positive and to thank you very much for everything. The truth is, in a film which is a feature film, practically an hour and a half long, to look at 1 minute which is that little detail, and also it's very poor quality because it was filmed in Super 8, and it was very difficult to hold it. It was very small. I couldn't even edit it because the frames when I was trying to do the editing were breaking. I said, that's horrible. And now they only talk about 1 minute of a film that lasts an hour and a half. Yes, I think the film is very well made. Yes, it's good because to see a film like a documentary style, but for it to be a comedy is quite strange. They say a documentary which is a comedy, but that has a lot of merit because it's like finding a needle in a haystack. They say they found it. They say, well, look, there's the needle in the haystack. Yeah, but that's up to them. The character, you make it very easy. Your songs is to laugh. Well, you have to laugh at them because when we've had the opportunity of seeing them with people, they have a really good time. It's a song to live, and people have applauded and laughed and when they watched it. And Krahe expresses himself talks about everything, so that's why we're so politically incorrect, it seems. You can't talk freely about things. People don't seem to like it. I wouldn't say this is a virtue of the film, but by virtue of Javier, that is to say, it was premiered 6 years ago in the cinema. I don't know whether it's more up to date and more a current affair nowadays than it was in the past. In Havana, in that festival, the film starts explaining what Javier Krahe thinks about work and confirming something which is quite sensible, that work doesn't dignify the person. Okay, in a country like Cuba where the law of if you're lazy and you're not doing and you're obliged to work, all of a sudden they hear that and they say, well, gee, what's going on here? So all of a sudden everything turns around. Like it turns people around, especially in those big cinemas that they've got like football field size in Cuba. I would like to ask you a bit beyond the film, what has been your reaction? Because to what I said before, as of you, I've gone to George Marsan's, and I want to thank you for this, and I would like to know, how do you get to Marsan's? How do you, in your life, how did you learn about him and get to like him? When I was 25, I went to live to Montreal, and the French that I knew how to speak I learnt at school. That's it was practically zero. Yeah, just the simple verbs, to be and to have. But I was quickly learnt French. Well, there was no other choice, was there, when I went to Montreal. So therefore I learnt French very well in a couple of months. So therefore, I got one of Brasange's records that it rang a bell, because it rang a bell from here. A sister of mine told me, this is a French guy that says a lot of swear words in his songs. And I started to listen to him and I realized, that I understand what he's saying in the lyrics. So I thought it was marvelous, but marvelous because I thought, that's what I would like to do. And I think, but quite fortunately, one becomes a bit unconscious, and he goes, okay, I'm not even gonna make it up to this level, but I'm going to enjoy myself. And he backed me up. He really stimulated me to enjoy myself when I sang songs, but it was an absolute submersion over 2 years. Every day for 2 hours, I always listened to him systematically for 2 hours. He was still publishing new records, and of course when a new record came out, I also had for about at least 3 months, and I used to listen to him every day, and that was great. It influenced my life very much. With your lyrics and his lyrics, every time I listen to the songs, you end up bringing out new things. I say, where did he keep this? In what drawer did he keep this? Because new things emerge in your new records. Well, to write with a certain literary complexity, well, if it's fortunate, That's what it has. Well, that at the end of the day. There are new ways to read them. But I don't think I should be. Now, people say to me, tell me this, and it must be true. But he's a bit of a bugger, isn't he? Because Copanda Bog is a song where he says, Se fluctua dirmagitu. I said, what's that? And you had to look in the dictionary. The slogan of Paris in the Middle Ages, it floats, but it doesn't sink. I said, I've still got a lot to learn. And not by imitating Brassens, but I've used some Latin phrases in my songs, and people, that doesn't bother them at all. Further questions, please? I would like to ask Javier. He says that he's found things that didn't exist, that by surprise that were in the film. But did you miss anything in the film where they could have put this in there or that in the film? There's something that got me very angry that what didn't appear. We were in Santiago, in the hotel, in the hall, and it was a glass door. And I was talking to Anna, and she had the camera on the floor, but in its case, because we were going to go I don't know where, and she was there, and she had her back to the street, and I see an elephant walk by, and I looked, I said, an elephant? And then I saw another elephant. 3 elephants walked by. I said, Anna, grab the camera. She got a problem with getting it out of this case, and the elephants went by, and they didn't appear in a film. I said, I would have loved those 3 elephants. It was the circus that was arriving in town, and 3 elephants in Santiago de Compostela. That's true, I didn't remember that. Everything can't appear in a film. I want to manifest my disagreement to a certain extent, because we're reading Javier Krahe as a guy who is an iconoclast. He's satirical, and we have to recognize, and you've got to meet, and you've got to recognize them and meet them. Last night I was there and assisted to a conversation, and I didn't bring out the recording. Jorge Dresler and Javier Krahe talked about Garcilaso of De La Vera and the Cancillabum. And so these integrist type people said that Javier Krahe is a guy that has a lot of order. He's warm, he knows Boscan's prints in Spanish literature, and it's Paul breaking down one of the foundations of our culture, because it's not easy to find in the 21st century in this Spain that's falling to pieces, to find a guy like Javier Krahe who brings back the essence of our best literature. So whatever you said before has been denied. I don't know whether you want to ask any further questions. Yes, there's another question over here, it seems. It's one of the phrases that you say in the film, which is like you talk about the deep uselessness of all type of political acts. I don't know whether that was. Did you came to that conclusion? When did you come to that conclusion? When did you realize it? And what's your relationship with politics? To which way how do you see it? How you analyze it, or don't you pay any attention to it? My relationship is a very bad relationship with politics. I don't know when I drew that conclusion, but quite a few years back now. It's bad, or we have a bad relationship with politics. I'm very skeptical, but every day I pick up the newspaper and I feel indignified. I say, why do I feel indignant and dignified? Because I don't expect anything. But it turns out that within, I still expect something. Well, I don't know, but that things might be a bit more comfortable or better intention in people's minds, but such is not the case. In any case, and undoubtedly, from my actions that are related to politics are absolutely useless. I've sung in favor of many causes, and I've only won one, which is when I sang for the people he did submission, and Nad came along and he took away compulsory military service, and I said, well, I finally won one, but the rest of them I lost all of those causes that I've sung in favour for. Okay, chance for another question, if such isn't the case. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.